What you're witnessing is not chaos. It is not improvisation. It is not panic. It is a pressure-revealing structure. When a sitting prime minister operates from fortified underground facilities, while more than $150 billion in economic exposure hangs in the balance, that is not theater. That is a signal flare. And signals in geopolitics follow patterns. In 2023, global military spending surpassed $2 trillion, the highest level ever recorded. The Middle East saw one of the sharpest increases. Energy markets have become hypersensitive to regional escalation. A single credible threat near the Strait of Hormuz can move billions of dollars in minutes. Algorithms reprice risk before headlines finish loading. So pause for a second. Ask yourself, if leadership goes underground, what does that tell you about the surface? This is not an isolated headline. This is a system under stress. And history shows that when systems reach stage 3 stress, stage 4 is never far behind. The claim here is not emotional, it is structural. Whenever a regional power expands its security commitments while facing rising internal pressure and external adversaries, leadership consolidates physically and financially before a forced correction reshapes the system. That correction can be military, economic, political, or all three. Empires do not collapse randomly. They transition sequentially: foundation, expansion, overreach, crisis signals, restructuring. The names change, the centuries change, the technologies change, the pattern does not. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's slow this down and make it real. Stage 1 is always legitimacy and alignment. Military strength aligns with economic confidence. Currency stability reinforces deterrence. Alliances appear stable. The narrative is cohesive. The leadership project's certainty. Stage 2 begins subtly. Strategic reach expands. Defense spending grows faster than revenue. External threats multiply. Domestic divisions deepen beneath the surface. Debt rises. Exposure increases. Everything still looks stable, but the margin for error shrinks. Stage 3 is where signals become visible. Currency volatility increases. Markets react sharply to geopolitical headlines. Leadership security intensifies. Emergency authorities normalize. Physical fortification becomes precautionary routine. Stage 4 is the recalibration, sometimes negotiated, sometimes forced, always redistributive. Wealth shifts, power shifts, perceptions shift. The previous equilibrium dissolves. Now, here's where retention usually drops in videos like this, because people assume this is abstract theory. It's not. Let's test it. Consider Britain before World War I. At its peak, the British Empire controlled nearly a quarter of the globe. The pound sterling functioned as the world's reserve currency. London was the financial capital of the planet. The Royal Navy was unmatched. Stage 1, dominance aligned with financial credibility. Check. Stage 2, expansion intensified. Colonial obligations stretched across continents. A naval arms race with Germany escalated costs. Defense commitments multiplied. Debt increased, still stable, but stretched. Stage 3 arrived before most citizens recognized it. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 did not create Britain's vulnerability. It exposed it. Entering a continental war drained gold reserves. War debt ballooned. Britain borrowed heavily from the United States. Financial sovereignty began shifting quietly across the Atlantic. Check. Stage 4 unfolded gradually. By 1945, Britain was no longer the financial anchor of the world. The pound lost reserve dominance. The empire dissolved. Power migrated, not overnight, but inevitably. Now go further back. The Roman Empire during the 3rd century crisis. Rome commanded enormous territory. Its currency, the denarius, symbolized stability. Trade routes flourished. Stage 1, unmatched military dominance paired with economic coherence. Stage 2, expansion became expensive. Frontier defense stretched resources thin. Emperors debased currency to finance campaigns. Silver content dropped, inflation rose. The system still functioned, but strain accumulated. Stage 3, from 235 to 284 AD, more than 20 emperors rose and fell rapidly. Civil wars erupted. External invasions intensified. Political instability became normal. Fortifications increased. Leadership security became obsession. Verified. Stage 4. The empire split permanently. The Western Roman Empire ultimately fell in 476 AD. Economic contraction reshaped Europe. Different century, same mechanism. Now consider the United States in the early 1970s. After World War II, America controlled the global financial architecture. Under the Bretton Woods system, the dollar was pegged to gold. Military dominance was unmatched. Industrial output led the world. Stage 1, strength aligned with monetary credibility. Stage 2, Vietnam War spending surged. Domestic programs expanded. Dollars in circulation exceeded gold reserves. Foreign governments began demanding gold conversion. The imbalance grew quietly. Stage 3 arrived in 1971. President Richard Nixon suspended dollar convertibility into gold, the so-called Nixon shock. It wasn't innovation, it was consolidation under pressure. Check. Stage 4 followed. Inflation surged. Stagflation gripped the 1970s. Oil crises amplified vulnerability. The monetary system recalibrated into fiat dominance. 3 empires, 3 eras, 1 structure. Foundation, expansion, crisis signals, restructuring. Now apply the same cold lens to the current Israel-Iran dynamic. Stage 1, Israel built a technological intelligence and military edge. Strategic alliances, especially with the United States, reinforced deterrence. GDP surpassed $500 billion. The tech sector became globally integrated. Energy discoveries improved long-term positioning. Strong foundation. Stage 2, security commitments multiplied. Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and the Iranian proxy network stretched resources. Defense spending climbed. International scrutiny increased. Economic exposure widened. The shekel showed volatility during escalation periods. Still stable, but more sensitive. Stage 3 is where attention sharpens. Leadership operating from fortified underground facilities signals perceived escalation risk beyond routine deterrence. Iran's missile capabilities have expanded in range and volume. Proxy forces possess increasingly sophisticated systems. Shipping insurance rates react rapidly to credible threats. Oil prices spike within hours. Capital repositions before diplomats speak. Check. And here's the part most commentary ignores. Modern systems are hyper-leveraged. Global debt now exceeds $300 trillion. When leverage is high, shocks are nonlinear. A regional missile exchange does not stay regional if energy corridors are threatened. The Strait of Hormuz carries roughly 20% of global oil trade. Even the perception of disruption can shift inflation expectations globally. If oil jumps $15 or $20 per barrel suddenly, central banks face renewed tightening pressure. Growth slows, equity markets reprice, currency volatility increases. This is how geopolitics becomes macroeconomics. Undeniable. Now, let's talk about $150 billion at risk. That figure represents more than direct infrastructure or market capitalization. It reflects interconnected exposure, technology exports, defense contracts, tourism revenue, energy transit, sovereign credit outlooks, derivatives tied to energy pricing. Interconnected systems magnify shock. When leadership consolidates underground, markets disperse risk outward. Capital does not wait for clarity. It anticipates. This is stage 3 behavior in real time. Now here's where retention rises, because this is not about predicting apocalypse. It's about understanding transition speed. In 1914, markets processed information over days or weeks. Today, high-frequency systems reprice in milliseconds. Social media amplifies perception instantly. Capital flight can occur before official confirmation. So ask yourself, what happens if escalation crosses a miscalculated threshold? History shows that thresholds are rarely crossed intentionally. They are crossed through misinterpretation, retaliation cycles, and credibility traps. Alliance structures amplify risk. Now, the United States maintains deep strategic ties with Israel. Iran maintains relationships with regional proxies and broader strategic partners. Great powers observe and calibrate carefully. When regional conflicts intersect with global power competition, volatility multiplies. Check. Military budgets worldwide are rising simultaneously. That is not coincidence. It reflects anticipation of structural instability. Verified. Now let's address the psychological trap. Every system believes its advantages are permanent. Rome believed its engineering marvels ensured endurance. Britain believed industrial supremacy guaranteed dominance. America believed Bretton Woods was unshakable. Modern observers believe technology, missile defense, and digital resilience eliminate systemic vulnerability. They do not. Technology can delay consequences. It cannot cancel arithmetic. Overextension eventually meets constraint. The question is not whether Israel or Iran wins a headline exchange. The question is how the broader system absorbs prolonged instability. If escalation remains contained, deterrence credibility may still weaken. If escalation widens, regional restructuring becomes unavoidable. Either outcome transfers value. Defense spending crowds out social investment. Fiscal priorities shift. Currencies respond. Investors seek perceived safe assets. Insurance costs rise. Energy premiums embed into supply chains. Small shifts compound over months. And here is the retention pivot. This is not about governments alone. It is about you. Because systemic recalibrations rarely announce themselves politely. They manifest as rising prices, tighter credit, market volatility, and policy surprises. When Britain's dominance shifted, ordinary citizens felt it through rationing and austerity. When Rome debased currency, ordinary citizens felt it through inflation and insecurity. When the US left gold, ordinary Americans felt it through stagflation. System transitions are macro events with micro consequences. So, what do you actually do with this information? First, remove emotion from analysis. Fear paralyzes, structure clarifies. Second, examine exposure, not just direct investments, but energy sensitivity, supply chain reliance, and currency risk. Third, recognize volatility as transition, not anomaly. Fourth, value liquidity. During systemic stress, flexibility becomes strategic advantage. Fifth, reject complacency. It will calm down has preceded nearly every major repricing in modern history. This is not about panic. It is about pattern recognition. Because once you understand the four-stage mechanism, headlines become signals instead of noise. Stage 1 builds credibility. Stage 2 stretches capacity. Stage 3 reveals stress. Stage 4 redistributes power. Right now, the signals suggest Stage 3 pressure. Leadership consolidation underground, energy sensitivity rising, debt saturation globally, alliance tension increasing, market volatility responding instantly. Check. The magnitude of Stage 4 remains uncertain, but the direction of pressure is visible. And the most dangerous position in any systemic shift is ignorance disguised as optimism. Do not assume alliances alone prevent recalibration. Do not assume economic size eliminates vulnerability. Do not assume technological superiority neutralizes overextension. Every empire believed it had unique insulation. None did. History does not repeat because humans lack intelligence. It repeats because systems obey limits. And when limits are approached, behavior converges. Fortify leadership, reposition capital, signal deterrence, prepare for recalibration. The machine was built on leverage, deterrence, perception, and interconnected finance. When perception fractures, leverage amplifies risk. Stage 4 is not guaranteed tomorrow. But Stage 3 signals are visible today, and transitions in modern systems move faster than ever before. So stay aware, stay analytical, stay flexible. If you want to understand how this geopolitical machine was constructed, how energy corridors, debt structures, military alliances, and capital markets interlock, then follow this channel. Because the next phase is not about headlines. It's about who adapts before the recalibration accelerates. History is not whispering, it is signaling. The question is whether you recognize the pattern before the adjustment becomes obvious to everyone else.